Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Edwin. I'm the Pretty Green Vinyl Guy, and I got a little vinyl update for you. And yeah, so we're trucking along here. We're getting through October and coming up to a couple of elections. We have a provincial election in our province of British Columbia in Canada. That's kind of like the opening act, and then of course we have the main event in the south of the border in the US. So no matter where you live, no matter what you believe in, get out and vote and express, my grandfather fought in the war. That gave us, the right to vote. And yeah, we owe it to people like that risk their lives. They're only asking us to wear a mask, and people have died for our freedom and our rights, so respect that. Anyway, enough of the politics. Let's get on to the music, because that's why we have these channels. The first record I'm going to show you is actually an album that Mazzy recommended, and I've shown several albums that I wasn't familiar with until Mazzy showed them on his channel. So Mazzy, thank you for that. This is Pentangle. This is a British band. This is, you've heard me talk about Bert Yance before, which I'm probably saying his name wrong, but he's a British guitar player. It says on the back of the album here, he's the owner of the most mispronounced name in Britain. Yeah, this is kind of like, traditional folk rock meets a fusion of, all sorts of cool things. I think Mazzy said that this was an album that they used a lot to showcase, high-end stereo equipment back, when we used to have those types of stores. The cover's a bit beat up. There even would have been a little bit of water damage back here, but I was pretty happy to flick through and find this. The vinyl, however, is perfect. It's on the Reprise Steamboat label. The Pentangle. Yeah, really cool stuff. Experimental, folksy art rock. I guess in that kind of Fairport Convention type of style. And yeah, super great to discover it. I've only listened to it once through, and I like what I heard. This is an album you see all the time. It's like a, in the $5 bin in Canada typically. This is Boss Skaggs, Silk Degrees. This one is brand new. It's in immaculate condition, and that's why I bought it. I did have this on CD 100 years ago. Boss Skaggs was an original member of the Steve Miller Band and performed, at least I believe, on the first two albums. This was his biggest solo hit, I would say. It's kind of a rock fusion jazz type of feel to it, and yeah, it's a really good album. It's a classic album, but it's an album that kind of lost its way. It's one of those ones that it had its moment and then it's forgotten about. And like I said, that's why you see it in these sort of $5 bin type places. If you see this album, grab it. It's really, really good. It deserves a revisit. It deserves our attention to be listening to it again. Yeah, and like I said, this one's in just beautiful, beautiful condition. All right, we got some Electric Mud, some Muddy Waters. This is Muddy Waters' psychedelic album. This is him, hitting like the Hendrix sort of style that was big at the time. This is in beautiful condition. This is, I believe, a Canadian pressing. This is on Cadet, which is a famous label. Yep, this is Scarborough, Ontario. This is a 1981 repress. So probably, I don't even know if Cadet was still there at the time. It says on the cover, a Cadet concept. so probably a bigger label. Quality Records. There you go. Yeah, great album. Not well received at the time, but has sort of gained in its popularity since then, and is now seen as an essential Muddy Waters album. Nice gatefold with the quintessential Muddy there, doing his best to be all psycho. Very cool. This is a new release that just came out. This is Monk at Palo Alto, which was a high school in California. This is a lost recording. So basically, I guess Monk was invited to the school to perform. They had invited other somewhat famous jazz musicians over a period of time, a particular student. And I guess this was the crowning glory, getting Monk to play at the school. So this was actually the janitor recorded this, and sometimes later people were notified that this was available. This is a copy of the playbill that would have been put around the local area. The Thelonious Monk Quartet, Jimmy Marks Afro Ensemble featuring Eddie Bow on the electric flute. 2 p.m. Sunday, October 27th, 1968. I was barely 1 year old. Not quite, actually. The Poly High Auditorium. The tickets were $2, and you can get those tickets at Kempler's Books, Menlo Park, the Donna Morgan Music, and Palo Alto itself, or there was a mail order. So that's kind of cool. This was the program, a copy of the program. They did a great job reissuing this. Even local businesses that sponsored the show, the jewelry store, the instrument repair store, the pharmacies, a little bit on the guys. Sorry, my camera's not going to focus on that. The hardware store, the school supply store. And so this was the International Club, helps raise money for the Red Cross, Books for Needy Schools, and most recently to accommodate our sister schools in Kenya, Africa, and La Paz, Peru, which were built through the Peace Corps, the American Field Services, is an organization which sends high school students to all parts of the free world to study for a summer or a full year with exchange students from those countries studying in America. The logical merger of these two clubs 2 years ago forms our present international club. Today's concert is the big annual fundraising event of the International Club for the ensuing year. It's very early here. We thank all of our advertisers and graphic arts department and all the people who came for the entertainment of today's concert. So yeah, Monk liked what they were doing and he wanted to appear. Also, this school, from what I've read online, was on the wrong side of the tracks. And, of course, what was going on in America at this time, 1968, Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, they've been assassinated, and Monk wants to help out, and he wants to go to a school and help them raise money and break the racial problems that are going on at that time. Build a bridge. This is and then you get a little booklet that explains what Monk was doing and why he thought. Just a really well put together package. It's a gatefold with the classic Monk. I posted this on Instagram and Monk's granddaughter contacted me, which was kind of cool. And then, of course, the Impulse label. The sound of this is not going to be audiophile quality, of course. It was recorded by the janitor. You can hear the breathing into the microphone. You can hear, even chairs clanking in the audience. I mean, it's just as raw. It's like you're there. That's how this is put out. You're in the school gymnasium listening to Monk. Can't say it any better than that. Pick this up. We've seen a lot of this already getting showcased. This is Coltrane's A Love Supreme. This is the Universal Music reissue, done sort of in the vein of the Tone Poets on Blue Note. You get the lovely gatefold with the high gloss, with the high gloss finish. You know, you get the beautiful audiophile quality. Again, there's that Impulse label. Came in the rice paper. You get a little bit of information on the audiophile quality, and obviously this is Verve, Universal Music, Impulse now competing with Tone Poet now that they've seen the success of what's happening there, and you're starting to see these titles show up. Of course, the famous Gitz Gilberto, Louis Armstrong, and Oscar Peterson. There's a second Coltrane, the Ballads album. Nina Simone got a couple of albums, Sarah Vaughan. This Pastel Blues by Nina Simone is an excellent album. And yeah, there's Bill Evans on there and Peggy Lee, Black Coffee. Yeah, so obviously they're going to see more titles from this. This was Coltrane's album from when he kicked heroin and found God and cleaned himself up. It was recorded on December 9th, 1964. Interesting, there's a little bit of vocals on this. A love supreme, a love supreme. There's a poem where he thanks God, basically for saving him. And you can read that on here. And I believe it's only four tracks, 2 on each side, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that. So yeah, you've got Acknowledgement, which is part 1, Resolution, which is part 2. You've got, oh, I can't even say that word, Personance, part 3, and Resolution, part 4. So obviously this is his journey to find himself in this period. If you're not familiar with this album, it's not, it's a bit avant-garde. It's the experimental where we're starting to go there in jazz. But I feel it's accessible. It is accessible for people that are not jazz fans. I think you can totally get into this. There's a few of those really high, sax notes where you might cringe a bit if you're not used to it, but it is a wonderful album. It's an important album, and this is a great sounding. If you want an audiophile album, this was under $40 Canadian. Fantastic. This is a music on vinyl release of Alice in Chains. Talk about going from from jazz to Alice in Chains. Some people will get the correlation. This is Dirt, their probably most famous album. This, Rooster, Dirt, Hate to Feel, Damn That River, Down in a Hole. Very, if you were into the grunge movement, this kind of even is pushing that grunge sound even into a light metal, I would say, sound. Alice in Chains, you could argue, are maybe the heavier of the grunge bands that broke out of Seattle. Fantastic sound. It's music on vinyl, so it's, again, an audiophile vinyl pressing. Yeah, really, really good. I think my record store just had this, was just filed and just had been maybe sitting in the store for a while and no one had come across it. But yeah, great sounding record. It's a great, if you're working out in the gym or trying to get all psyched up to go out and do something, this will get you going. Saturday night, crank it up to 10 and the neighbors will be running for their lives. Alice in Chains Dirt. And then last but not least, this was such a lucky find. I'm going back to Record Store Day now, drop 2. And this was an album I really wanted, but I didn't even think it was available in Canada. And the people that scored this and talked about it were so lucky, I felt at the time. And a lot of people had written in comments, oh, it never came to my store, never came to my store. Well, I just went down to my store and was flicking through. And the owner had told me that part of his problem with Record Store Day is the shipping costs, because you have to get it expedited, shipped to Canada in order to have it for Record Store Day to sell it that day. And he kind of has this theory where he gets maybe half the order expedited and half the order sent regular mail. So stuff trickles in late. Well, this trickled in. The Yardbirds, Roger the Engineer. The classic 1966 album by the Yardbirds. I believe their only complete British album with this lineup, with Jeff Beck. It's a double LP. LP1 is the original album. LP2 is the single, Over, Under, Sideways, Down, which was, I mean, that song just defines 66 London mod, Carnaby Street. I mean, that's the song. It's an amazing song. You get the single mono version. You get the A and the B side. Jeff's Boogie's the B side. So yeah, you get all the singles from the album on side A of record 2, and side B of record 2 are alternative takes, vocal take, alternative versions. Yeah, the Yardbirds, Roger the Engineer. Never my wildest dreams. Don't you love that? Like, that's the journey, right? You go down to a record store, you start flicking through records, and it's like, oh. Yeah, so this was packaged on white vinyl for Record Store Day. A couple of different pictures here. There's the boys, the Yardbirds. There's the boys, the Yardbirds. You get the writing, and then you got a little book. That was the cover of the 45 single for Over, Under, Sideways, Down. And I'm assuming this kind of, I think this kind of replicates that single, what they were saying, you know, Chris Dredja, I played piano a bit, lots of fun screaming and shouting, made up some funny words and did a solo on thing called a Wibbly Borrowed. Jim McCarthy, yeah, they all kind of have a few words there. This is the sort of the second version of the Yardbirds. This is when Jeff Beck, our boy Jeff, had joined the band, replacing Eric Clapton. And when they went to tour for this album, they needed a bass player, and somebody knew Jimmy Page, and that's how Jimmy Page started with the band. He was the touring bass player, and then of course would eventually go on and replace Jeff Beck, and then eventually morph that band into the mighty Zeppelin. Anyway, guys, here we go. That's my pile for this last week or so. We've got Record Store Day Drop 3 coming Saturday, and there's all sorts of goodies being released. Yeah, so there you go. That's all I got right now. Have a great weekend, and remember, well, I'll probably talk to you one more time before the election, but get out and vote. Peace, guys. Have a great one.